Moshi Moshi PX Cam 20 back again with a brand new video. We are here at Suzuka Circuit for the Daily Race C. Honestly, probably one of the best daily races that we've had in a while. Loving the combination here as we are driving with the Group 2 cars on the Suzuka Circuit. And the compound here is really interesting. It's only the mediums tires. It's not the hard compound tires, no soft compound tires. It's just the mediums. And I'm actually surprised how much fun I'm actually having with the medium tires because, again, it has a lot of grip, but not as much grip as the soft tires. But it does have the durability of the hard tires, but also not as much as the durability. So you kind of have to be very patient on the throttle as you can overheat the rears, but you also at the same time have to be aware of where your fronts are on the tire wear spectrum, because it can lose a lot of tire wear throughout the laps, as there are a lot of corners and hard braking zones on this racetrack. So it just makes for a very interesting race and a really interesting way of driving the car, especially because you do have to come into the pits on this race around lap 4 or 5, depending on your circumstances. You can go on either of those laps, or sometimes even lap 6, but that's if you can manage to avoid using up a lot of your tires and if you have a big enough gap to the car behind you. But again, all of this factors into actually making a really good daily race, as daily race B has just been a Peugeot fest. And then I haven't tried daily race A. I'm planning to do that later on the week, but I've been pretty much avoiding daily race B through the week. But anyways, before we jump into the video, if you guys really enjoy the content, please subscribe to the channel and leave a like on the videos. It really helps out the channel when you guys do so. Anyways, that's enough promoting myself. Let's jump straight into this race. Now, as we're jumping into the race, we are starting in second place for this one, as we are right behind the Brazilian as we come down the start finish line. Fast forwarding here to turn number 1, braking right before the 50-meter board. The Brazilian goes a little bit wide, hits the green AstroTurf. He gets very loose, does some Tokyo drifting there. As you can see, he gets back onto the racetrack. We're able to gain a position, but we're now getting pressure from the Mexican. The Mexican comes down on us, hits us a little bit. We get pumped from behind. We make contact with the Mexican, and both us and the Mexican are both out of this race as we get a 2-second penalty and get resetted back on the track. Let's see exactly what happened here. As you can see, we gave the Mexican room on the outside, but he just kind of cuts in on us. We slow down here to avoid making more contact. And what actually happened behind us is you see this yellow Nissan actually made contact with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 cars. And this was the end result. As you can see, it was just kind of an accordion effect. Then us and the Mexican both got punted out, and in addition, the American in first place actually got a penalty too. So kind of an unfortunate turn of events there, as it just kind of got bottled up there. And then unfortunately, me and the Mexican paid the price for that, as we both got knocked out wide. So now having to make our way back up to the front, as we are stuck in 11th place. There's actually a yellow flag here as we're coming to Degner 1. Coming out Degner 1, there's 2 cars on the inside. Not sure what happened to both of them, but 2 cars were out. But that's going to be 2 easy positions for us now as we come out Degner 2 into the hairpin in 9th place as we come into the middle part of lap number 1. So fast forwarding here, trying to catch up to the Mexican. We're going to come to the penalty zone now as we come to the straightaway, and we're going to have to serve our 2-second penalty as we come to the penalty zone now. Serving our penalties, shifting down to 3rd gear, as we're going to try to get it to as low as gear as we can to try to get the acceleration back up. We lose 3 positions as we are now demoted back into 12th place. So luckily we're not in last place, but we are in the mid-pack basically, and we're just going to have to push as much as we can to try to catch up to some of these guys and make overtakes and capitalize on any mistakes if they do end up spinning out. So jumping now to the end of lap number 1, heading into lap number 2 here. We're in the middle part of lap number 2 as we're heading to the hairpin. And you can see there's a yellow flag again as 2 cars are spun out on the hairpin. And we're stuck right behind the Argentinian. He was able to get back onto the road and pull away. As we see what happened on the replay here. You see the blue car makes contact with the Mexican. The Mexican and the blue car make contact. Spins the blue car out. He runs into the Argentinian. And you can see that he gets resetted back onto the racetrack after getting spun out. And that is easily 11th place for us, as we are focusing our sight on the Argentinian ahead of us and the American. So coming into spoon curve here, the Argentinian is taking a very narrow line here as he gets very loose coming out of the corner. And he goes into that green AstroTurfy type of material, and you can see how loose he gets on the radar, as we are able to make an overtake on him and capitalize on his mistake, as we are now catching up to the NSX ahead of us as he goes a little bit wide coming out spoon curve. Coming out of 130R, we're trying to make a move onto the outside that's going to lead into the inside to the hairpin, brake as late as we can, and we're able to get the easy 9th place position from him, as he did give us the spot there coming into the hairpins. You can see the replay right here. Brake really late, and he just gives us a spot there. So thank you so much to the guy in the NSX, as that was really good clean racing. But Coming out of the corner, you can see on the radar he gets a little bit loose as I think he touched the grass. But again, we're now in 9th place and setting our sights on the Argentinian right ahead of us in 8th. So coming into the S's here, we're coming out of Dunlop Curve as we're coming into Degner 1. There's the yellow flag, and there's actually a Brazilian that spins out. And luckily, he was still ghosted as I thought I was going to run into him and crash into him as I thought he was going to unghost himself. But coming out of Degner 2, there's also another yellow flag, and there's an American sitting on the left-hand side of the road. So 2 positions gained in 2 turns, basically, as we're now promoted into 7th place and just capitalizing on a lot of these people's mistakes because it just seems like everyone keeps spinning out. Not sure if it's just from hard racing and making a mistake or just making a mistake on their own, as we see another yellow flag here, and we see there's a Brazilian on the left hand side. It's actually the Brazilian that took us out in the beginning, and we are able to capitalize on his mistake and now promoted into 6th place as we're trying to make a move on the left hand side of the Canadians. So coming down the straightaway leading us to 130R, we're staying right behind the Canadians. We're focusing on him now as we go a little bit wide here. We try to keep it onto the throttle through 130R, which just got 2 loose coming out, as the dirty air does affect the cars really bad here on this track, especially on fast corners like 130R. And you can see what it can actually happen to your car if you just lose some of the downforce right there and just carry too much speed coming out of 130RZ. We lost a lot of time to the Canadian ahead of us, but luckily coming into lap number 4 here, heading to turn number 1, we're trying to reel him back in as he's, I think, getting held up by the Argentinian a little bit, but we're starting to catch up to him back again on the S's as we're able to cut down the lead now to half to him, and just moving our way, maneuvering through the S's as best as we can and as fluid as we can to try to catch up to the Canadian. So jumping into Dunlop Curve now, the Canadian gets a little bit loose as he touches the rumble strips on the outside, and we're still getting closer to him now as we're heading to Degner 1. Breaking right after the 50-meter board, we cut the track a little bit. He goes a little bit wide, and he goes straight into the dirt, and he is out of here as we are able to gain 5th position from him. So all these overtakes that we've basically been doing has been just from mistakes from cars ahead of us, as I haven't been able to, there was maybe one car that we were able to overtake cleanly without him having any incidents or mistakes. You can see the Argentinian gets a little bit loose coming out of the hairpin, not the hairpin, but the chicane. But everybody else has been just making mistakes, spinning out, or making contact with someone, and you can see the result right here as we try to get onto the inside of the Argentinian. The Argentinian closes the door on us and actually hits us, so he got very lucky that he didn't spin out because of that, and we have to follow him going into turn number 1 and into turn number 3. So coming to the S's here, we're staying right behind the Argentinian, as again the dirty air is just not allowing us to catch back up to him, as it just affects so much on these fast corners on these Group 2 cars. And we're just trying to stay right behind his back bumper, but again, once we get close enough to his back bumper, the dirty air just causes us to get a bunch of understeer and lose time as we are now coming to Degner 1. So jumping to Degner 1, the Argentinian is pulling away from us a little bit now, but he gets a really bad entrance into Degner 2, and that's going to allow us to catch up to him a little bit closer to as we're going to the hairpin. Defends his position going into the hairpin as we're going to keep it on the right side and just take a very wide entrance in and try to get a good exit coming out of the hairpin. And you can see it kind of helped out as we are now in the slipstream of the Argentinian and getting closer and closer to him as we are now coming into Spoon Curve. So jumping to Spoon Curve here, braking right after the 100-meter board, the Argentinian gets very loose and almost an identical replay to one of the cars earlier, goes into the green part and loses it as he is now out of there also, and we are able to gain 4th place from him as we're not going to come into the pits on lap number 5. So again, the strategy here was to just run the mediums all the way up until lap number 5 and then just switch them out, as the tires do wear very, very fast on this racetrack, although they are mediums. And if you try to stay onto the racetrack by like lap 6 or 7, you run the risk of a car behind you undercutting you. So if, like, let's say the Mexican didn't come in and we came in at lap number 5, who knows if we would have been able to get ahead of him if we put in a good time. As you can see, we're only 0.8 of a second behind him now, but we would have probably been able to undercut him, as I have seen that happen in races previous. So jumping into lap number 7 now, we're just still trying to reel in the Mexican now as we are getting closer and closer to him, as we were 0.8 of a second away from him, but now we're starting to get to about 0.4 of a second. He gets very, very loose. I don't know what happened going into Degner 2, but he just did not take the corner correctly, and you can see how much time we actually gain on him. Coming to the hairpin now, braking as late as we can and just shifting it back up into gear number 2 out of the turn. You can see how much of a bite we get as we were able to catch up to him a little bit more, but we weren't able to get close enough to him as we are now jumping into lap number 8. So on lap number 8, coming out down love curve, going into Degner 1 again. The Mexican's a little bit loose coming out Degner 1, but doesn't affect him too much. But going into Degner 2, it's a different story. He goes very, very wide, clips the dirt, and you can see how much time he loses there. So we're going to make a move on the outside now and make an easy overtake on him onto the hairpin. And we are able to promote ourselves now into the podium after falling back all the way in 12th place, I believe, on the first lap. We are able to fight our way back and claw our way back into 3rd place, as again, majority of the overtakes were done by just cars losing it on the grass or just getting taken out. So it's kind of been the theme of the race. Not sure if that's been happening to you guys. I mean, let me know in the comments down below if you guys have been having this issue on this daily race where you're just being taken out, or you see other cars getting taken out, or you're just losing it on your own because you're clipping on the grass. I mean, it's happened to me a couple times where I've clipped the grass, especially going into spoon curve, end up spinning out, or just running a little bit wide coming out of 130R and then just losing it, getting into the dirty marble, and then losing a lot of positions because of that. So I mean, it's just kind of the nature of Suzuka. Suzuka is a really, really fun track, and especially with these cars, you're just running a lot faster than what you usually run, especially with this track being majority of the wise races being held with group 4 and group 3 cars. So it's kind of like a really cool change of pace when you're running the group 2 cars. It's just a lot faster, a lot more easier with the braking, and it just feels more of like a race car when we're running with these cars. So you can see that ahead of us in the top 2, they're fighting with each other, the Brazilian and the American, and they're slowing each other down. We're able to close the gap, but we weren't able to close the gap enough, as we were able to bring it down to 7 seconds, as we were, I believe, 11 seconds behind them a lap or 2 ago. And unfortunately, they weren't able to fight more with each other, because if they were, then we probably would have caught up to them, and who knows what would have happened there, if we would have been able to get a win or not. But we were just going to run out of time here, as we just got caught up behind a lot of other cars trying to fight them. And unfortunately for the first incident on the S's, where we got taken out, and also the other Mexican that got taken out. But coming to the final chicane here for the final time now on the final lap, we are coming to the final corner now. A lot of finals right there. And we're going to finish this race in 3rd place, right behind the American and the Brazilian. And the Mexican's going to come out in 4th place after both of us got punted out on lap number 1. So very, very exciting race there. A lot of incidents that were happening. Again, just cars being wiped out left and right, but we just capitalized on all those mistakes and all those incidents, and this is the result here by being patient and just waiting for our opportunity, and we were able to come out with a podium on this race. So very, very proud of this race. Again, this is probably the most fun I've been having on this week with this race. I kind of avoided daily race B and avoided daily race A. I'm gonna probably try daily race A a little bit later in the week, but so far I've been just focused on daily race C, as it has been the most fun for me. So I hope you guys really enjoyed this video. If you guys did, please subscribe to the channel and leave a like on the video, as it really helps out the channel when you guys do so. And if you guys want to support the channel, I have linked my Patreon down in the description down below. So if you guys want to help out the channel, you guys can do so there. And I hope to see you guys on the next one. Peace out.